any idea what I'm doing. I just shoot for the best and hope
Hey,
for
it's
it.
working.
Yeah,
Working for you.
yeah. But so what's a typical Sunday look like in like the campaign season?
As far as campaign on Sunday, I don't campaign on the Sunday, so that is my day of rest. So, I don't campaign on Sundays or Wednesdays. Just like on Sundays, I go to church,
Hmm.
and I try to campaign all the other days. But Sunday, it's we go to church on Sunday, and we spend family time
Yeah,
together. So for a typical Sunday, that's what I
yeah.
do.
Can you pull down just there? You go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so you go to church on Sundays and spend time with family on
Mhm.
Wednesdays. What are like the other days just your heaviest hit days, or do you have?
Yeah, I say just since I've been out campaigning, I think the best days where I'm able to see as many people at home, it's been like the weekdays. So like Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think are the best days in my experience, where I've been able to catch people at home. Because I usually don't go out until about 4 o'clock whenever I get off work. And back in January and February before the time change, I'd go until dark, which is usually about, I didn't have a lot of daytime left, so
Sure.
about 6. And so I'd call it a day by then. But now, since I've got more daylight, I've been staying out till about 7:30. But about that time is whenever I quit, only because I know what I am going to be doing about that time, and that's getting my kids. I'm eating, or I've already had food, and I'm getting my kids ready for bed. So, and I know others are doing that, and the last thing they want is a politician at their door,
Yeah.
late at night. And two, it's not safe either to be out by that time of night. And So I've been doing that during the week. Fridays I still campaign in the afternoons, but I don't catch as many people at home, only because it's the weekend.
Hmm.
They're usually out. That's a very busy night for people to go out to eat, or to leave town. And especially during sports seasons, they're either at a ball game. But I still go and leave a door hanger. Saturdays I can cover the most ground because I'm off work, and I can cover a bigger area that day, but I also don't get to see as many people one on one. So it's good that I can cover the ground, but at the same time, I don't get that that interaction with them, to ask them personally to vote for me, and then two, just to answer any questions that they may have. So, but that's my typical campaign week, on top of working, and then raising my kids and
Yeah.
trying to balance all that. It's been hard, but I knew what I signed up for, and I've got a great support at home, and without my family, it would be impossible to do all this. So.
Yeah. So you've been hard at it for a while. How much of the county have you covered, do you think?
Over half.
Over half.
Yeah. I was kind of looking at it last night to just kind of see. I was trying to make a list of places. Now that's just like ground. I don't know if I won't be able to see everybody. I mean, it's just impossible. But I've made quite I've touched every part of the county, in some way, and I've been out that way working, try to every precinct that I can find. But as far as just coverage wise, I would say over half. But as far as people, I'm not nowhere near that.
Yeah.
I can spend several hours one night trying to, and I feel, like I've seen a lot of people, but then I look down at my list, and I'm nowhere near. It's like I feel a little defeated sometimes, because it's just, I feel like I've seen a lot, and then after I start looking, I was like, there's so many people in the county, and the county is so big.
Hmm.
I've been to places in the county that I didn't even know existed, and I've seen people that I didn't even know that lived here,
Sure.
and there's a lot of people that have moved in here, but that has been hard, just trying to see everyone, and again to just catch them at home, and to try to catch them out at maybe a public event. And then just finding that opportunity too, if I do see them outside of their house, outside of home, like if I were to see them at Walmart, or if I'm at a restaurant or something, just finding that opportunity that is appropriate
Mhm.
approach them and ask, because I'm not natural at that. I know some are, but my dad was always really good at that. But I don't know. I try to maybe see if the opportunity presents itself, or if I'm talking to someone and it were to come up in conversation, I try to bring it up then. But I always feel very awkward if I see them at a restaurant eating, enjoying their family time, to walk over and interrupt that and then ask, or even like to stop someone. But I'm trying to get better at it. And, it's not that I don't want to ask them. It's just I don't want to also lose that
Sure.
vote by interrupting them. So it's again, just trying to find that balance and try to read the situation.
Sure. Is there any like lessons that you've learned on the campaign trail so far, or things about yourself that you've learned?
Yeah, I'm better at it than what I thought I would be, as far as talking to people. I was really worried about that, is talking about myself. I for a living, I ask people questions and I interview them. I'm usually in your seat as far as in a courtroom, or even in my law office, but I'm usually trying to learn as much about them as possible to do my cases or about the situation. But in this role, I'm having to tell people about me, and I'm trying to sell myself to them as why I need the job. And so that has been hard, but I've been better at it as far as just talking to people about it, and just finding something else that I've learned is, you need someone with you. Maybe a lot of, I'm the only female that's actually got an opponent that's running in this race. And I think it's a little different, for men and women when they run. I try to always have someone with me, because I've learned that a lot of people have dogs, if not multiple
Oh
dogs.
yeah.
And it's good to have someone with me in case there there is something like that. And then two, which I haven't had this problem at all yet, but in my job, my current job where I am an assistant Commonwealth attorney, my job is to prosecute people who have committed felonies. And even just in my private practice, it's inevitable that I'm going to make someone upset.
Sure.
And when you are covering a countywide election, you may think you know who lives there, and you may think they don't have a problem with you, but you don't know that. And so I've learned that, you've got to be careful, and you've got to, you've also, I think just having someone with me too, that's been something that I've got to do. But those are some lessons.
Yeah. Who do you usually take with you?
Family,
Yeah.
and some friends. I've had some of my friends that have volunteered to drive me around. I've got some cousins that have volunteered to go. My mom has went with me a lot, and my husband too. He's went with me a lot. Just depending on which one can take care of the kids that day, it'll
Yeah.
depend a lot of who can go with me. But yeah, but my mom, like she was magistrate for 2 terms, and so she's had to campaign, and so she knows how it works as far as who to see and where to go. So she's been very good at giving me advice and helping me along the way.
Sure. So tell me kind of about your family. I seen you all last night at the fish fry. Now, did you have both kids, or just one? You had both of them there?
I
Because I think
did.
I remember seeing your boy,
Yes.
but you have a younger one too,
I have
right?
a little girl. Yeah, I've got a little boy. His name is Quade, and he'll be 3 next week.
Okay.
And then I've got a little girl. Her name is Stevie Quinn, and she will be 6 months old next week. So
Okay.
I've got the 2.
So you like the cues?
I like the cues. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Quade. I've always liked surnames for first names. So people ask me where I got Quade, and like Dennis Quaid or
Mhm.
Randy Quaid. That's how I got Quade. And then Stevie. I have a double name, Anne Marie, and I was wanting her to have a double name as well, and so that's how I kind of chose Stevie Quinn. It kind of went along.
Makes you think
so.
I'm sure you know Stevie Nicks.
Yes, I get that a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me, what's your husband's name?
His name is Nick
Nick.
Anderson.
Yeah.
So Nick is from Mason County. I get asked a lot on which Anderson am I related to, or my husband's related to, and Nick is from Mason County, which is northern Kentucky, and we met in law school. He's an attorney as well, and he practices in Glasgow. But we met in law school, and that's when we started dating. And his parents live in Lexington now. And after law school, he lived in Lexington and practiced there for a while. And ultimately, he moved. I convinced him to move down here,
Yeah.
and we got married, and that's where we are now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What's it like having a spouse that has the same occupation as you? Is it refreshing, or is it?
I think good and bad, it's good because, it's if you've got a problem or some type of legal issue, we can talk those issues out, obviously still keeping our cases confidential. But as far as just some like legal issues, we talk about the law a lot, not necessarily what is happening in our day, but just about just different legal issues. So it's good to have someone to play those back and forth, because that's what we kind of did in law school, that we studied together. And so I think we both make each other better attorneys that way, especially if I learn something new, just through my practice, or if he does, we're able to, in a sense, teach each other those things. The downside to it is that we can't talk at home about our day to day, especially about our cases. So where somebody else, they can come home and tell their spouse, like, this is what I had today, we can't do that. So just that, but at the same time, we don't bring work home with us in that way, since we do have those ethical rules. So that helps us, keep our work, at work, and then concentrate on our home life, which is with our kids. So.
Yeah. Now, where did you all go to? Y'all went to law school together?
We did.
Where at?
At Chase. So
Okay.
that would be northern Kentucky.
I think that's where Nick went to school.
He did.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, northern Kentucky. It's right on the line. A lot of times I usually just say like Cincinnati, because I felt like I spent more time in Cincinnati than I necessarily did right there in northern Kentucky. But you kind of group all that together: Cincinnati, Covington, Newport. It all kind of runs together.
So how long have you been practicing?
I've been practicing for 10 years. I graduated law school in 2015, took the bar immediately out of law school, passed that year, and I was admitted to practice in October of 2015. And so a little over 10 years now. It's went by extremely fast.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is if it seemed like it's been that long.
It has, and I think I always had people tell me that, it seems like life goes by faster once you have kids. And I think that since I've had kids, I do feel like my practice and my life in general has definitely, went a lot faster. But yeah, it has for sure.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about being a parent?
Being a parent, I think what I find, like, I guess most interesting is just like when I was a kid, you always thought your parents didn't know anything or anything. And I feel like now that I'm in that role, even though my kids are little and all that, but I find myself just kind of eating my words on certain things too. I also find, like, I know before I had kids and I'd watch some of my other friends have kids, I'd be like, oh, I'll never do that. Or, they'll never sleep in my bed or anything like that. And it's like, you find out real quick that, you end up eating your words. But, I don't know. I love being a parent. I feel like that my entire life changed, and my priorities and my perspective and everything. You just and two, just even having two kids, when I just had one kid, I was just like, man, I love Quade so much. How will you have, that much space left to be able to, and then when I had Stevie, it's just, but I do. I love being a parent, and they teach me every day. I've got a whole new level of stress that I never knew I could even possibly have on top of everything else. But, they teach me a lot of patience. That's one thing, especially my little boy. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So what's like your family, what's the support been like? Is it have they been there for you, or is it like when you get home at the end of the day, you still got to be mom? Is it kind of like a back and forth trade off? What's
Yeah, before I decided to run for county attorney, and it was a we decision. I was the one that filed, and I'm the one that's running, but it wasn't just me making that decision. It was one that I had to have that conversation with my mom, my husband, and my in-laws, because I needed their support, I needed their help, because again, I have two small kids. And I mean, whenever I filed to run in January, my little girl was born in October, and she was born 6 weeks early.
I
So,
didn't know that.
yeah, she was. So I mean, that brought on a whole other ordeal. So,
What was sorry to interrupt, but
no.
what was that like? I mean,
So,
spending time in NICU or
yeah, we were in Louisville for 6 weeks. So she was born 6 weeks early, and plus we were there for 6 weeks. It was very traumatic, but we're very blessed because I know that there are so many parents that have it so much worse, and we're very fortunate, as far as being able for her to be healthy, that's the major thing. But it again, I mean, I just have a whole new perspective on kids that are in the NICU, and then parents and working parents. That too is just hard. But it was a surprise. I mean, I had my little boy. I had him early too. I had him at 36 weeks, so I had him about a month early. Both the reasons why I had both my kids early were blood pressure issues. I had preeclampsia. So, but my little boy was only in the NICU in Bowling Green for about a week. So he was, as far as fine, his experience was fine. But my blood pressure was a lot worse and come on a lot quicker with the little girl. And I didn't know I was having a little girl. She was a surprise gender. We didn't want to know until the birth. So my blood pressure shot up. I was in Bowling Green Hospital, and we were going to deliver on a Wednesday, and they ran out of NICU rooms in Bowling Green. So, and I had to deliver because of my blood pressure. And so I got flown out to Louisville. And whenever I got to Louisville, 'cause they had to find a hospital that could take me before I could deliver. And so they sent me to Louisville, and I ended up having her there. And she was only like 3 pounds when she was born, so she was really little. You wouldn't be able to tell it now
yeah.
by any means, the same complications that come along with a lot of babies born early. Just feeding was a big thing. Luckily, we didn't have any breathing issues or anything, but she had some feeding issues. She had her hips were out of place, which is she hasn't had any issues since then, but her hips were out of place. So I had to adjust them, and then her leg was fractured,
Really?
which could have been done during the birth or even just where she was so little. And with the feeding issue, she had a lot of acid reflux. So whenever she would reflux, her oxygen and her heart rate would drop. And so we had that was like the hardest thing of just trying to get her over that hump to get her home. And again, we were there for 6 weeks. But I know I have a cousin right now who her baby has been there since August and still there. So we're so fortunate that that's all we were there for, and that was all the issues that we had. But I mean, Stevie, her leg is fine, her hips are fine. We finally got the acid reflux under control for her to come home, but all of that was extremely stressful. But on top of that, I had a little boy at home, so that was hard. Just having a 2-year-old at home.
Yeah.
But no, I
You
mean,
want to take some space,
yeah,
you're good.
yeah, it's okay. But yeah, just having them. But that was my October and November.
Yeah.
So the campaign, I mean, we had thought about, I mean, we had already discussed like filing, and filing, opening of it was in November. So that took a back seat. So the main priority was just to get her home. And then make sure once she's home, make sure she's healthy, because we had a lot of follow-up appointments. And then 2, just make sure that we could adjust to having 2 kids, because we went from having 1 to 2. And we took the holidays. We spent the holidays. We're very fortunate to be home for the holidays, and so right after the holidays were over, that's when we started, going back to the county attorney job and you know talking it over as a family and just making sure that that my mom and my in-laws as well as Nick was ready to take on that responsibility to help me take care of the kids if I'm out, campaigning. And so, of course, they were all very supportive, and that was I didn't have any issues with that. And but yeah, when I'm out campaigning, and then whenever I come home, which is another reason why it's like by 7 o'clock, which I still think is it's a little late for me still because my
Yeah.
kids, my husband's already trying to get them
Yeah,
fed
I
and
hit
ready.
30 and I'm ready to go to bed
I
at like
know it is.
6.
It is. So, and some days I do call it a lot earlier, especially if Nick calls me and I can hear him crying in
Yeah.
the background. So, um, but yeah, I've got a great husband and my mom and my mother-in-law and father-in-law. They've been very, very good. I'm very fortunate to have them. But yeah, when I come home, I'm back into mom. I've got two Velcro babies, and so that's what they want,
Oh, yeah.
or mama. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So.
So what does the county attorney do, like in your own words?
Well, the county attorney, in my own words, I think it impacts all everybody in the county in a bunch of different ways. It's
Mhm.
it's not just like one specific job. I mean, you've got the county attorney is made up of multiple jobs, and your day to day is so different. You advise the fiscal court on legal issues. You and on procedures. You also are prosecuting misdemeanors and violations in district court. You are enforcing child support. You are representing the cabinet in dependency, neglect, and abuse cases. You're collecting delinquent taxes, property taxes. You are collecting as well as also prosecuting like cold checks. Um, Juveniles. If a juvenile commits a status offense or a public offense, you're prosecuting those. So, a bunch of little things, but in all, I mean, you're affecting so many different people in a bunch of different ways. So,
Yeah. And what made you decide that this was the route you wanted to go?
what I like about the county attorney job is that because of just uh, I guess the array of different jobs. Like you're not only just dealing with criminal law, but you're dealing with civil issues as well. Like whenever you're dealing with the county issues, as far as advising the fiscal court, any of the issues or decisions that they're making, those are all civil. And so it allows me to be able to use my civil experience to advise them on what the law is, on the proper procedures to either do a decision or whether or not a decision is legal or not according to the law. And then I love criminal law. That's probably my favorite area of law, and I I get to do both, and so I think that to me has always been a draw. But also being the county attorney, you get to help people in just your county. The people that I grew up with, and the people that I see every day. I mean, I'm affecting their lives, and in a sense, I'm also helping create a better future for my kids. So
Yeah.
that's why I like it.
And what is your job like now? Are you like a defender? What do you do right now?
So I'm also a
You're a
prosecutor.
prosecutor
Yeah.
too?
So I've been a prosecutor for the past 10 years, just in different roles. Right now, I am the assistant Commonwealth attorney for the 40th Judicial Circuit, which takes up Monroe, Cumberland, and Clinton County, and I prosecute felony cases in all three of those counties. And then I'm also the assistant county attorney in Cumberland County. And
Okay.
so I assist Coleman Hurt, who is the county attorney in Cumberland. I assist him in prosecuting the misdemeanors and the violations, dependency, neglect, and juvenile cases. And I also have a private practice where I do civil issues. So I've got 3 jobs right now. And in my private practice, I do divorces and custody. I do real estate transactions. I do estates, title opinions, deeds, wills. Um, business setups, business buyouts. I have a pretty general practice in my civil practice. I do everything but criminal defense, and I don't do personal injury. But that's
What makes you shy away from those?
just because I feel like they're so specialized. Not necessarily criminal defense. I can't do criminal defense. Just as a prosecutor, you're not allowed to do both. So I'm ethically not allowed to do criminal defense. But as far as personal injury, I just feel like that's something very specialized, and that I will refer out if someone were to call in. My husband, they do a lot of personal injury, but that's just something that I've got my hands full with so many other
Yeah.
issues that I know what I'm good at, and I try to stick in those areas that I am.
What's your favorite role so far?
Um, I like prosecuting, I think that that's always been something I enjoy. I like being in a courtroom. So any case necessarily that allows me the opportunity to be in a courtroom, I enjoy the most.
Yeah.
And um, the Commonwealth attorney, that's all they do, are they prosecute. They don't deal with any civil issues. So um, they strictly prosecute felony cases. So you're always in a courtroom with that case, with that job. So but yeah, I like prosecuting the best. But they're with any job, you're not in the courtroom every day. So there are times that you're going to be in the office more times than you are in a courtroom. And so in my civil practice, I really enjoy real estate. That's probably my second favorite area of the law.
Yeah. So when it comes to prosecuting, are there some cases that are harder to prosecute or tougher? Whether, I guess, what am I trying to ask here? Like
Like emotions and some.
motions, yes.
Yeah, I would say any case, for me, it's any case that involves a child.
Okay.
I think those are the most emotional cases, as far as from a criminal aspect. Especially if a child is a victim, to me, those are the hardest cases to prosecute. And it's, even if all the evidence is there, if you've got a trial scheduled and a child is the victim, um, you've got to balance, prosecuting this defendant, but also not traumatizing this child anymore, because,
Hmm.
that is because, more likely than not, and they testify, and, finding that balance on asking them those questions and getting them in an environment and to trust you and giving you that information, that those are the hardest
Hmm.
cases. Those are the most emotional cases that I've had, because you want to prosecute that defendant, but at the same time, you want to also keep that child safe, because, regardless of what happens at the end of this trial, that child is going to continue living with that, for the rest of their life. And you want to try to do something where they get justice, but you also, you want to keep their mental state safe, and hopefully, you're able to do that in those types of cases. But those to me are the hardest cases. And But that would be criminal cases that
Hmm.
I think are the hardest. In my civil practice, the hardest cases or the toughest cases are custody cases. I You don't find a lot of attorneys that enjoy family law, and I'm not going to say I enjoy it by any means, but there is such a need for attorneys to do family law, because that's something that is constantly, coming up. I get called. I mean, that to me, I feel like is the biggest need in our county or in our area, are attorneys that want to take family law cases. But I think the reason why attorneys don't like them, and I know I have my days too with them, is that, again, there's a lot of parents that will use children in these cases as weapons,
Hmm.
rather than what is in that child's best interest. And to me, those cases are hard, because you sometimes your client or even the other side loses sight of what the goal is.
Hmm.
And to me, those are
Hmm.
those are the toughest cases.
I think I kind of know what you mean, but will you kind of explain like what it means that for kids to be used as a weapon by parents?
Yeah, I think that, if usually when these custody cases arise or even in divorces, a relationship has ended. Yeah, that's usually, and when that relationship has ended, the only thing you have left to punish the other side is to use the child, whether it's to fuss about time sharing or to be petty about an exchange or clothing or anything. It's just some of the smallest, holiday time sharing, vacation time sharing, who gets the child on Christmas. It's if you know that it they could work out these issues. A lot of parents can, but sometimes they don't want to. They know what drives that other parent crazy, and they're going to do whatever they can to, make their
Yeah.
lives harder. And so, I think every attorney's had cases like that, and but I think those are the cases that are the hardest. And so, I enjoy a case where
Hmm.
you can have parents that are adults and they want to be adults, and they know that they're going to be raising these kids until they turn 18, because that's a long time, and so you need to learn how to get along with that parent regardless of what terrible situation maybe your relationship was. If that can happen, sometimes it just can't be,
Yeah.
and but, that's how a lot of them use them as a weapon.
Yeah. And I know, like in my practice in therapy, when it comes to kids, you talked about getting them to open up to you and stuff like that. I mean, it for us, it can take weeks of spending quality time. Like the amount of effort just to get a child to trust you can be tremendous.
Yes.
And so, and our environment, should be as a therapist geared towards building that. How does that work in like your practice, like in like a law environment? Like how much, like what do you do to really build that rapport with a child?
Yeah. So in my job with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, that's where anytime there's like a crime that's committed against a child, I especially if that child is the victim, I try to meet with the child. I do a lot of those cases just because um it seems, just in my experience, and other people may have others, but a lot of children, um they they do like talking to a woman in those roles,
Hmm.
I don't and it's too, especially if a lot of times a lot of the victims are girls, and there's some tough questions you have to ask them. You're asked, and a lot of them are sexual crimes,
Hmm.
and it's hard enough telling anyone that, but it has to make it tougher sometimes to even tell that to a man if the man was also the one who committed the crime. And the way I try to approach the situation is I try to meet with the child a few times, and maybe not on the first time talk about it, but more just to get to know the child get to know me, get comfortable with just talking about anything, and then maybe the second time we meet, then we talk about the case. And only push the child as far as they want to talk about it. But that's kinda how I approach it, and then I always try to take them to the courtroom,
Hmm.
because that way they can see where they're gonna tell their story, and to let them know, where maybe the defendant will be sitting, maybe where I'm gonna be, who everybody is and where everybody's gonna be seated in the courtroom, and that if it ever gets uncomfortable, just look at me, just pretend kinda like how you and I are just having a conversation, just block everybody out and talk to me. But I know that's easier for me to say than it is for me to do that. Just like I was telling you, I'm nervous, and it's because I'm usually the one asking the questions. I'm not the one answering them. So,
Sure. Hopefully you don't feel like I'm hounding you with
no,
questions.
no, if anything, it's given, it gives me that perspective too. Because if I next time I ask a question to a witness, I know what that's like in a sense,
Yeah.
being questioned. So no.
Yeah, fair enough. It is tough working with kids because
Mhm.
a lot of kids, they don't have anybody that they can trust, and uh, just trying to get that one person, and they don't know me from Adam,
Mhm.
but I do think that being a woman probably does have that, I guess, that maternal feel to it, to a
Maybe, yeah,
degree.
yeah.
Yeah, and it obviously don't have that. So, but I know it is tough, and I definitely wouldn't want to encounter that in a law environment. But it sounds like you have a really good approach about making them feel comfortable, and wanting them to just know everything ahead of time so that they can be as prepared as possible.
Yeah, and most of these kids, they've already been through therapy, so they may have already went to a therapist or a counselor to talk about this, so they're already prepared a lot of times, and before they get to me. So I have a small role in that as far, people in your position play such a bigger role, and they've got that expertise on how to handle children and how they get them to open up. I know a lot of it, just whenever I've watched or listened or got to sit in on an interview, I mean, a lot of it's like the play, through therapy. I've seen it, like, where they'll draw pictures or things, but yeah, that's, yeah, I enjoy working with children. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes it's under very unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, and through the county attorney's job, I won't get those types of cases as far as prosecuting for these serious crimes against kids, but I'll be dealing with a lot of dependency, neglect, and abuse cases, and these are where a caregiver has, either left a child to be dependent or has neglected them or abused them, and the cabinet is asking either for removal or for other services to be put in place for these caregivers, whether it be a parent, grandparent, or just someone who was
Hmm.
in that role taking care of that child. And I'll still, if I am elected county attorney, I'll still get to do that and be involved in children's lives, because at that point I'm looking to see, to ensure that that child, that they're going to be safe at home
Hmm.
or wherever they are. What is the goal for them? If we can get their parents or their caregivers to, be in a position where they can take care of them safely. But I'll still get to work with kids, and I think that is something else that, that draws me to the county attorney position, because, that's another thing I enjoy, and I would get to do that through this job.
Yeah. Does the law school and all that, like those programs, do they prepare you for the emotional toll that this job can take on you?
I I don't know if, like, specifically, I feel like law school teaches you it teaches you how to think, that teaches you how to think, it teaches you how to read, and to argue, but as far as I think law school in general is so emotional. I mean, I was so and
Hmm.
so stressed that I think just that alone teaches you how to deal with the job, just as stressful as law school was. That's how the job is. So yes, but, as far as just specifically with issues, no, but, I feel like I look back at when I first got out, I'm like, "Oh, they didn't teach me that at all," but where I'm at now, I look back at law school and I see how they did, it was just in a different
Hmm.
way.
Yeah. So how do you keep, like, are you able to remain emotionally detached, or do you catch yourself getting like a little too emotionally invested at times, and then have to pull back? Or have you been doing it long enough that you kind of know how to find that balance?
I can find that balance now. I think whenever I first became an attorney, I think it was hard not to get, invested, in it. But I think you have to have that balance, because if not, you're going to take it home. And I think that too, my job is to seek justice. It's not to rack up convictions, or to send everybody to prison. It's to seek justice, and if I can stay level-headed and put my emotions aside in a lot of these cases, then I can make good decisions for the case and for the community that way. So I think that just, like I said, I've been practicing 10 years now, so I think I have found that balance, and
Mhm.
and I think that's what you've got to be if you're going to be a prosecutor.
Yeah. Have you learned how to, like, read people really well?
Yes,
Do you
yeah,
know what I mean by that?
yeah. Like, I think so. Picking a jury, that's kind of like a skill. It I don't think I've mastered that. I don't think anybody will ever, if they ever say that they've mastered picking a jury, they're lying
Okay.
because you just never, you don't, you can, but I think you've got to be able to read sometimes that a jury as far as like when you're selecting one. But as far as like witnesses or anything, whether they're telling the truth or not, that's difficult. I feel like sometimes because some people are just really good liars.
Yeah.
They are. But um, that's why we have juries is because that's ultimately their decision on who they believe, and if we do have a trial. So.
Yeah. Fair enough. What do you feel like is either the easiest part of your job, or yeah, let's just go with that. The easiest part of your job.
Oh no. The easiest part of my job. Um, I don't know what the easiest part would
Let's
be.
say there's a case to come in and you're like, all right, I'll take this.
I don't know, probably, I don't know if there's any area of law that's just easy, they all
Yeah.
have so many nuances within it that, um, but, a criminal case, I like DUIs. I like to try DUIs, if I have a trial for a DUI. I've done a lot of those, so I feel comfortable doing them. I don't know if they're actually easy because 'cause they're all so different, but, I feel comfortable trying one, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. So, doesn't mean necessarily, I'm not gonna say I'm very confident I'm gonna win it because it just depends on it depends on your jury too, but, I'm not afraid to try one.
Yeah.
So,
Can you pull
yeah.
there you go. I want just so like if you're looking at me, the mic's going to be in front of your face.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm picky about it because
You're
I've
fine.
I've said this like every time since I had like 3 recordings in a row where it went sideways because the audio wasn't getting picked up.
Yeah.
So what do you do for work-life balance?
So, I mean, just not bringing it home with me. I think that that's a big thing. Is just, whenever I leave work, just not coming home and bombarding my husband with, all the stress with it. Or with my kids. I think like once I come home, I need to do things with them, spend quality time with them. And that's what I do. It also just having hobbies. I definitely need more hobbies because
Yeah.
but now that I've got kids, I don't know when I'm gonna have time to do that. But I like watching TV. I don't like watching a lot of law shows, just because I feel like that's already something I deal with. So, um, but I like watching a lot of just different series that come on. And I love being outside. We go for a walk a lot at night with both of my kids. And that's always good just to get outside. I enjoy doing that. But yeah, I think that's how I
Yeah.
balance it the best.
Is going outside like your favorite family time, or is there something else that you all like to do?
Yeah, I would say going outside is my little boy loves to be outside. And but that's probably our favorite thing to do. And now that, I put Stevie in the stroller and we just take off, that's what we went after we got back from the Bethlehem um, auction last night. It was late. It was 7 o'clock, but we just went for a walk, around our neighborhood. And so my little boy has got a lot of built up energy. He was set
Mhm.
very still for the most part, and so it's just good to do that before we go in for the night. So
Yeah.
I enjoy being
It
outside.
was hot there last night. Like,
It
I was
was.
dying, and I kept looking at the thermostat waiting for somebody to turn it on, and they never did, and I picture all, like, in movies where they're at auctions and stuff like that, and people are sweating, and I'm like, "Is this just all part of the experience, or can we just turn the air on?" But yeah. No, I enjoyed that. I hadn't been to one, and I know there's another one coming up, I think, this coming weekend, right, at the is it at Hog
Uh,
Wild?
yes, I think the Historical Society is having one on Friday night, and then Saturday, Fountain Run is having a fish fry.
Okay. Do you
Uh,
plan on hitting up all of those?
I'm hoping to, but my little boy turns 3 this weekend,
Nice.
and I'm trying to plan something to do with him, and I've been on the go since January, and so I've missed out on a lot of quality time with both of them, and, babies don't keep. So I think, I probably won't get to make some of them this weekend, but it's, I'll try to maybe donate something. But I think I'm gonna take the weekend and just spend it with my little boy.
Yeah,
So,
that'll be good.
yeah.
Now, see, you played basketball, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Now, is he going to play anything or?
I don't know. He like will throw a ball, but as far as like grasping that like what basketball is yet, I don't think he's there. But I hope so, but if he don't, I just want him to do something, just to be involved in
Mhm.
something, whether it is sports or band or 4-H, just to be involved in something because I think that the more that kids are involved, the less likely they are to get in trouble or, but that's my goal is for him to be involved in something, but he's so active. I think he would be a great runner.
Yeah.
So he loves to run and that would my husband, he's really involved with soccer. He's on the soccer committee and over the little league, and so where he's from, his school didn't have football, so he played soccer and basketball and baseball, and so when he moved here, he got really involved in soccer. So I'm sure that's where he's going to be pushing our little boy too, is into soccer, which will be good because there's a lot of running involved in it
Yeah.
too. So, but yeah, I hope they play sports, but again, if they just are involved in something,
Yeah.
be fun.
I do think it's important to be involved in something. You don't even have to be good at it. Just
Yeah.
just do it and just try it. And even if you try 4 or 5 things and you're not good at them, at least you
Yeah.
kind of you're learning either way.
Exactly. You learn from yeah, like you said, even if you're not good at them or if you don't succeed, at least you are putting the effort in, it can teach you teamwork, or leadership skills, but and it can present a lot of other opportunities, even just through friendships or stuff that may carry on, after school.
Mhm.
But I was very active when I was growing up. I played basketball ever since I was little, and I ran track, and I was very involved in 4-H and just about any club that you can think of. But my parents always like kept me busy, and I'm glad they did because now my life is really busy, and I think that
Yeah.
that has carried over in there because I was, I had to, whenever I was in school, I had to balance, my studies and sports and clubs. And I'm doing that now. I'm having to balance work and family and a campaign.
Mhm.
And, but that, I think that's helped, and
Yeah.
I think that that's another reason why kids should be
Yeah.
involved.
Are you tired?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not, I I think it's a different level of tired. I mean, I'm tired, just from being a mom, you get tired being up all night because my little boy sleeps really well, but my little girl is not a very good sleeper, which sometimes causes my little boy not to sleep. So just being a mom with 2 young kids, that brings on a whole level of exhaustion. Plus, like I said, I've got 3 jobs that I work and it puts me traveling a lot. So, I'm where I cover 3 counties, and then I'm also the assistant county attorney in Cumberland. I'm out of, I'm traveling a lot. That puts a lot of extra exhaustion on you. And then also I'm I'm running for office. So
Yeah.
but again, I knew that going into it. And I feel like I've been able to manage it the best I can. And we're on the downward slope now. So there's not many days left. And so,
Yeah.
but
How do you feel like Monroe County politics is now compared to like when we were younger?
I mean, I feel like I wasn't that involved in
Right.
politics when I was younger. My mom and dad both were magistrates. So my dad was a magistrate for a few terms and then he passed away while he was in office. and then my mom ran and she held a few terms. And but when they were running, I was in high school and college, and somewhat like not as interested in it, at the time. Like now looking back, I wish I was. I wish I was more involved with it just because I'm doing it now, and I wish I would have taken better notes. But um but I don't know if it I think one of the major changes is just how you get out the word to vote. Back then I feel like, a lot of people just use the newspaper and signs, billboards. Now social media is such a new thing.
Mhm.
So I think that's a way that has changed on how you are trying to connect with voters, especially young kids, because if I go to a house, I don't always see their children that are home that are
Mhm.
eligible for voting. I don't see the 18 to 20-year-olds that are still living at home. It's because the parent comes to the door. But if you're on social media, maybe they would see your ad that way because that's where all the kids are.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that is something that has changed as far as campaigning and how you kind of curtail your campaign strategies towards that audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Social media is big. That's kind of why I wanted to do these, and I think it's a good opportunity to let people to come on and kind of talk, but not everybody wants to do that, and I understand that. But anyway, so what's first like if you get in office? What's day one look like for you?
So, day one, my first my first thing of business is just prepare. So I want to be prepared for all my cases, whether it is a criminal case or a dependency, neglect, and abuse case, or a juvenile case, or a child support case. I need to know those cases, front and back. It's not a heavy caseload here in the county, for our county to be as small as it is. So when court for whenever the upcoming court day is, which we have court every Tuesday in district court, and then the county attorney, for child support cases, that's every Tuesday as well. But every third Thursday of the month. So one time a month, you have circuit cases where there are child support cases there too. So but just preparing for court, I should be looking at my docket, who's on there, what's their criminal history, are they currently on probation, should I be filing a motion to revoke them, what is the offer going to be for that person. Is it something that I think that we're gonna be able to work out? Or, what are some other solutions to this crime other than just jail time,
Mhm.
Is jail time the only thing that I can offer? But those are things I should be looking at, preparing before I get to
Mhm.
court. Has somebody, been charged with, a seatbelt ticket? Have they paid for it already? Is there, maybe they got stopped and they just didn't have proof on them. Do I have that proof? Is it in my file? I need to make sure that I'm prepared. As far as child support cases, I need to be prepared. I need to know those cases just as well as my caseworker. I shouldn't have to rely on my caseworker to know those cases. I'm the county attorney. I need to know those. So I need to know, who is paying, how much are they paying, if they haven't paid, why, um, what kind of resources are out there to motivate them to pay. Do they have a job? If they don't have a job, are they looking for a job? What jobs are available? Can I make those connections with some local businesses to kind of send them in that direction? And if they aren't working, or if they're not making an effort to, pay their debt, then, what is the solution to it? It may be jail if there isn't that, but I need to be knowing those cases. But I think that to me is my day one, is just preparing for my dockets, um, and talking with my officers and my witnesses and the cabinet. Another thing is just training. There may be aspects of the job in that office that, that I need to learn. And so I want to make sure that I am trained to know every single job in that office, and then make sure that my staff knows it. But I need as the county attorney to know those jobs, like I said, better than my staff does. That way I can train
Mhm.
them. And then I think just making sure that the public knows that I'm available and I'm accessible. So if they do have a problem, that they know they can come into my office and, they can discuss it. If I don't have a conflict, because there's some cases I can't talk about. There's some people I can't talk to them because of an ethical conflict. But, if they are a victim or a witness, just knowing that, if they do have an issue, that they can come in my office and discuss that. And, and that their issue will be, I'll listen. And if I can't help them, can maybe guide them in the direction that they need to go. And then just making sure my officers know that I'm gonna be available and how to reach me in case of a serious situation
Mhm.
or if it's late at night, I think that's my day one is just being prepared, being trained, and being available and working,
Yeah.
so
Do you feel like you'll go in there and have it all down pat, or do you think there'll be a learning curve? What do you expect?
I think I'll know more than most people coming into a new office, in that position, only because I was Wes's assistant from 2015 to 2022, so I've actually worked in that office,
Mhm.
and then I've been, Coleman Hurt's assistant county attorney since, 2023, so I've been an assistant county attorney, I am one, so a lot of aspects of the job I already know. I think, as far as, there may be some things that have changed that I need a refresher on. I love to learn, I love to study and love to research. So I'm confident if there is something that I don't know that it won't take me long to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when it comes to the office, what do you hope like what do you hope to accomplish, or what do you feel like, I'm going to save that question towards the end, but what do you feel like are some of the biggest challenges in Monroe County is facing right now?
I think the biggest issue are drugs. Um, our drug problem in Monroe County is very serious and very bad. I see it in I see it as a assistant county attorney and as an assistant Commonwealth attorney in both jobs. You know, I most of the DUIs that I prosecute as a assistant county attorney, they're not alcohol related; they're drug related. And you know, there's so many possession cases and trafficking cases. Drugs are so much cheaper now to buy than they used to be. They're so much more accessible to the public. There's I don't think there's a family in Monroe County that has not been touched or affected by it in some way. And I think that's our biggest issue. And as a county attorney, I won't be prosecuting those felonies involving those, but I will see them first, a lot of them, whether it's issuing an arrest warrant for them or if I'm doing a search warrant on a house or on a car or something where they're wanting to search for drugs, that's where the county attorney will come in. Also, if they are charged and arrested before they're indicted, if they're just arrested on the street or while their officers are out or through a warrant, they have to come through the district court process and there will be a preliminary hearing. And that's just to establish probable cause, whether or not they were more likely than not committed the crime and if they had probable cause to arrest or charge them. And so that is, those are in district court, those preliminary hearings are. And so I would be the ones doing those. So, that would be doing those jobs right there correctly is a way to be able to, help with the drug problem to get them over into circuit court. As far as, DUIs stay in district court if that's the only charge, in other misdemeanors. But prosecuting those cases to keep those drivers off of the road for our children not to meet them or for anybody to not meet them on the road, that's my job is to prosecute those individuals to make sure you're not meeting them. You know, also, like, just because, not just any of those crimes, but some individuals that are do have a drug problem, they may not be getting caught with drugs, or they may not be, driving under the influence. They could be committing other crimes, like thefts.
Mhm.
A lot of times that those stem from drug use, but, if there's or even assault, some domestic violence and stuff. Um but trying to find if you can recognize those individuals or those issues, maybe trying to get to the root of the problem. And again, I think jail sometimes jail may be the only answer, but in some cases, but there's a lot of other good that you can do to get to the root of it, whether it's trying to get them into treatment, getting them a job, that way they don't have, idle hands. But I think, just trying to find something, an answer for them to be able to correct it so that we don't keep seeing them on the docket, or seeing them, hurt someone
Mhm.
or to hurt themselves, because that's not what anybody wants. But I think I think the drug problem is our biggest issue in the county.
Yeah. Do you feel like the drug court program, do you feel like it's effective?
I do, I do. Uh, Being an assistant Commonwealth attorney, that is where we send a lot of individuals that we think that would benefit from it, if they are charged with drug-related crimes, especially if they're willing to work and they do want help. But that to me is one of the greatest programs that we have, is because it allows them to stay in our community and to become a working citizen, to contribute to society, to contribute to our community. And it helps them find a job. It gives them um, a group where they can rely on and confide in, and a support group to
Mhm.
have that support to stay sober and to want to stay sober, and for them just to see themselves in a different light, to see themselves outside of the drug world. So I think it's a great program.
Mhm. So you don't feel like you'll come into the office, like, hard charging, trying to take everybody down, but one, trying to be a human.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's what a county attorney needs to be, and that's what I am, and that's how I practice every day. Is you've got to have common sense, and every case is different. Every person is different, and so what solution may be right for one person, it may not be for the other. There are lots of laws, though, that don't allow me that discretion. But my job is to follow the law and to pursue justice, but in the same time, also try to help people, and to keep the public safe. But that I my my goal is not to just rack up convictions, like I said, by any means, or to just send everybody to jail. That doesn't solve any problem, because you're not, again, getting to the root of the problem. But my job is again, just seek justice and try to help people in any way that I can.
Mhm. Well, as we start to wrap up, what do you hope to accomplish through the county attorney's role? What do you hope to be known for?
I hope that by the end of, maybe, if I am elected, I hope that when someone comes into my office, they feel, whenever they do have an issue and express to me, they feel like that I have given them and their issue the respect that it deserves. I had a very wise attorney tell me one time, that no matter who comes into your office, and no matter how silly the issue may seem to you, it is the most important thing to them at that moment in their life. And you need to give them the respect and the issue the respect that it deserves. And so, even if I can't help someone, I think just listening to them and giving them that respect, I think that that's what I want to be known for, is that if I can't help them, maybe I can guide them in the direction that they can be helped. And I that's something that I think is a big thing, is I want the experience that they have with me to not be something that they hate or they dread. I don't want that to be if they are needing help. But as far as crime goes, I'm going to be tough on crime, but I am going to be fair.
Mhm.
That's those are the two things I want to accomplish. I want to be a good listener. I want to be respectful, and um, but also I want to be tough on crime. But so,
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say to voters?
um, just that I really hope that you vote for me. I've got the experience, I've got the work ethic, and I've got the temperament for the job. And I'm personally invested in this county. I'm from Monroe County. I'm raising my kids here. I hope my kids one day come back and live here. And I want to run. I'm running for county attorney because I want my kids and I want your kids to grow up in a safe and stable community. And if you elect me as your county attorney, I will do my part in making sure that happens. So,
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming out. I know you were nervous. I hope it got easier as we were going
it
along. I
did,
think
yeah.
you crushed it.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the format because, like we talked about, campaigning is different now. So I think this podcast and just things similar to it can reach a different segment of the population that maybe I can't catch at home.
Hmm.
Or maybe I won't get to see them out and about, but maybe they're on Facebook
Yeah,
or maybe they'll listen. So, but
for
thank you
sure.
for the platform.
For sure. Don't I've got a shirt for you. Don't let
Okay.
me forget
That
before
sounds
we
good.
leave. All right. Well, I thank you for coming out.
Thank you,
All
Ben.
right.
Thank you.